really happy for you. I'm gonna let you finish.
We're on in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Hello and welcome to On in 5. I am Austin Thomas. Tony is stashed deep in a drink of beer right now. Perfect timing.
Wait.
Casual episode.
What's happening?
Very casual episode. I'm joined by my good and best friend, Ethan Bonine, and no one else.
Hey, I'm number
doing?
one
That's right.
today. Hey, it's me, Ethan.
I'm just kidding. Tony's here. He's just sometimes he can't resist. I get it.
That beer was looking pretty good. I'm drinking a Lagunitas IPA tonight, and that is for a very special occasion. Today is the 1-year anniversary of
Of our
On in 5.
podcast.
What is this podcast called? What is it called? I don't remember.
On in 5. The reason that I was stumbling over my words is because I'm going to be talking about a band tonight called I'm Prettier Than You, which is my own band
maybe
that
that's
I
where you were
used
accidentally
to
heading there.
have.
Yay.
Yes, today's episode is going to be a little different than what you guys are used to. We decided that a lot of you have listened to the history of some of the most important bands in history, and we aren't close to being done bringing those stories to you. In fact, we actually already have the next 2 series lined up for you, and we've started researching them. And while we love to research them, it is a lot of work to do it. It's a lot
Getting in
of
the
reading.
dirt, getting our fingers deep in it.
It's just lots of
Takes a
reading.
minute.
So much.
A lot of reading, a lot of documentary watching, a lot of website browsing and perusing and article reading. So it's a lot of work. And to say the least, we've got a lot going on in our personal lives. So over the next 3 episodes, we're going to be doing something a little different, which we will explain why when we go through today's subject, our own history. So we're going to go through each of our own musical histories and how we got to where we are now.
We're gonna let you peek through the curtain into our personal lives, because I'm sure that's what you're all dying for right now.
You just
Absolutely.
want to know about my parental issues and everything. You want to know all of it.
No, we're just gonna give a little depth into why we love music and why we're doing this.
You've heard 10 extremely successful bands and musicians, and so now we're going to give you 3 not successful
so, not at
musicians
all.
It's like the
all.
opposite. It's the story you didn't get to see on television.
It's like 3
Yeah,
people that tried to
exactly.
be musicians and are now doing a podcast.
Yeah.
How about it? We figure we are in no way as close to as important as the people who we share this list with, or we're making ourselves share this list with. But we figured you may want to know about our past and what people who don't make it as musicians look like. In my case, anyway, personally, I'm not going to speak for you.
I'm definitely
I
hardly
think we're all
trying.
in the same boat.
Nope.
100%.
Yeah.
So we will give a shortened, sparked notes version of what we did in the musical world and how we landed on starting a podcast.
The natural death cycle of the failed musician.
That is correct. Maybe someday when we get really famous, we'll all 3 of us get back together and we'll try and start a band again, because
I'm going to have to learn the bass to do that.
Gotta get the bass, Austin. You just gotta do it.
I look forward to it. I look forward to it.
Could be good. Could
So,
be good.
We're going to start with me, Anton, or Tony Ryder. I go by both names, and you have heard both names over the episode. I introduce myself as Anton, and Ethan and Austin call me Tony. There's a reason for that. It doesn't matter. My parents named me Anton when I was born on January 9th, 1992, in the small town of Iowa Falls, Iowa. I was born at the Ellsworth Hospital. Woo! I was a pretty quiet kid. Beautiful.
It's an apartment
beautiful
complex
hospital.
now.
That's true. Yep. A lot of people died there. So it's probably really hot.
Probably. I'm looking at buying a unit.
Oh, man, you can't
Hell
afford
yeah.
it, honestly.
No, you're right. I absolutely can't.
It's grossly overpriced for what it is. I was a pretty quiet kid, choosing to play alone when I was young, oftentimes losing myself for hours with Legos, Connects, drawing, or anything else building or design related. One thing that did catch my attention at a young age was music. My father, Alan Ryder, played music his entire life, playing in a band called Roxylvania Avenue, which was a bar cover band, you know, the one you see Friday and Saturday nights at any bar you go to, named after the street we grew up on. So I grew up to his band practices while he played guitar and, more importantly to me, the drums.
And I too lived just off of Roxylvania, as did Ethan. Also, too live kind of close to Roxylvania, and it took a long time for us to all become friends somehow.
The longest time.
Too long, yeah.
Yeah.
We were all right in each other's proximities, and we just somehow danced
So
around
close.
it for far
Bike
too
riding
long.
distance.
Dancing with
easily.
the devil my whole life.
Yeah. Austin, did you ever hang out at Julie O'Neill Park? Julie O'Neill?
I mean, I
Oh,
tried not to, but I definitely did.
J.O.P.
Yeah.
I was
I
there
spent
too
more.
often.
Yeah.
Which is weird because we must have been taking shifts. I definitely
Yeah.
saw Ethan's dad there with his shirt off a lot.
My dad shirtless playing
Everyone
basketball
saw that.
Wednesday night. Everyone saw it.
Everyone's there.
Everyone saw that. Bunch of like 8th graders and then Bill Bonine.
Just running a clinic,
50
truly.
Yeah.
58-year-old Bill Bonine. So I took to drums like a fish to water,
There-
sleeping in the open kick drum from the time I could get down the steps to our basement where they would practice. My dad and his band would take smoke breaks, and when they did, I would jump on his old Tama Rockstar drum set that he had and play as much as I could until he got back. Those were the best 5 minutes of my life. My parents were huge fans of classic rock, so that's what I was exposed to in my early years. It was a lot of AC/DC, Rush, Styx, Van Halen, you name it, in the classic rock world. I was listening to it. My parents got divorced when I was young and got remarried when I was 9.
God, how much
My
did that
stepfather.
suck? Sucks for you.
Yeah,
loser.
Divorce, man, huh?
You
Unrelatable.
guys have divorced parents. That sucks.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah,
Well, mine got
parents
married.
never
Yeah,
did
mine never
divorce.
got married. So.
Mine got married when I was in 2nd grade. So
So my new stepfather, Joe Husted, was a huge fan of country music. He liked old country and modern country alike, or modern for 2001 standards. So I expanded my horizons to names like George Strait, Dwight Yoakam, Brad Paisley, Kenny Chesney, and many more. For a while, I was a full-fledged country boy, only listening to country radio, and actually I still listen to this era of country today. I really like it.
I'm really jealous of that because my dad raised me to think that country was terrible. And I bought into it hard, obviously. I'm going to listen to my dad. And so I started getting into country pretty retroactively. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's good. I don't really, not really a fan of modern country.
Yeah.
I don't like that stadium country. You know?
I went through
Outlaw
that
country.
phase where I was like, I'll listen to anything that's not country, and which
Oh,
is
yeah.
weird
Yeah.
because I grew up listening to a lot of country. Like my grandma was really into stuff like Hank Williams Sr., but I came back to it. I get it now.
Yeah, there was a time. I think everyone went through it where it's like, "Ugh, it's country.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit about it.
It's
But
called being
it's fine.
being a prick.
Yeah. So when I was 11, my dad bought a bar in the small town of Alden, Iowa, population 750 souls.
The infamous swamp. not really infamous, but it sounds fun.
It's infamous in our house because it was a money pit.
Well,
It's really
Money
pretty,
siphon?
pretty sad.
Yeah.
It was a pit. No, we just threw money.
You
in
just
it.
keep throwing it in.
burning it. Gotcha.
So it's just a few miles away from our hometown. And if there's something you need to know about small town Iowa towns, that there's not much to do in them. So the bar becomes the meeting place for everyone. It was actually so popular in the town that the town's mayor cleaned the bar every day before they opened up. We spent a lot of time at this bar, even spending Christmas Eve and Christmas morning there, which sounds trashy because it is, but it was super damn fun. It was so fun.
Hey, I've spent
There's like
many a night in a bar.
Oh, it's a good time. It's a good
As a
time.
child.
There was like a little like living area, had 2 recliners on it, had a little cheap the living room, the living quote area looked like a college apartment, like just stuff you'd find on curbs just thrown in there, and then there was a big rear projection TV, and it was so good. So they would open up the pool tables, have like Christmas movies playing on that all night, and then the bar was closed, like there was no patrons in there, so it's just us. And then we would just play pool all night. We would drink Shirley Temples, and then when it was time for bed, there were 3 pool tables, and we would sleep on the pool tables at night. So uncomfortable,
Really
but it was a
good for your
preteen's
posture.
dream. just sleeping directly on a stone,
Slate,
essentially.
yeah.
It's
Oh, it was
fine.
bad. So while I was there, I got to play with Roxylvania Avenue when they opened up for 80s power ballad band Firehouse, which I know you guys have heard of, right?
Yes. No, I haven't.
Uh-oh.
No.
Baby, Don't treat me bad. This could be the best thing that you ever heard.
You just made that up, right?
That's a really catchy song. Their biggest hit.
Now I get it.
It kind of goes like this. I finally found the love of a lifetime.
Yeah, you're also making this one up. I don't believe you.
If I was making that up, I'd be a millionaire right now because it's a hit.
Are they millionaires right now?
Yeah,
Firehouse?
They played in all in Iowa, so I assume they're not.
Yeah, we can
assume
offer
they're
you a
not.
$500 flat rate to play in Alden.
We'll take it.
Yeah,
We will take
that's
it.
actually more than we made last week. So yeah, we'll take that.
We will. Yeah, it's fine. No, it was a lot of fun. Their stuff is very catchy. I would recommend looking it up because it's good. They were just off they were B-rated 80s band.
Yeah.
And but they're
I
fun.
might
They're
take
fun
a
to
listen,
to
take a
if you-
look.
Yeah.
Take a look.
So my dad got them to play at this local fest that he put on. I think he also had other bands like the Oak Ridge Boys. Like he did it for a couple years, but this was the biggest year. Like the Firehouse was the biggest band they got. And so since he was the owner, he booked himself as the opening band.
That is genius marketing. That's what that is.
It's
Yeah.
good.
You got
It's
to.
good. Yeah. Just really leech yourself on with someone
Why?
big.
Why not?
Genius.
Yep.
So one of the fun things that they thought it'd be fun to do was they decided to have a 14-year-old play a song, and that 14-year-old was me. So Roxylvania, as I said, was a cover band, so I got to choose what song I wanted to play. So I chose the song "Cuts Like a Knife" by Bryan
What
Adams.
a fucking
And
tune.
The whole reason I chose it was just because it starts with the drums, the old and I was like, yeah, I'll play that because it starts with drums. And then my dad was like, you have to choose the tempo for it. So if you screw up the tempo, it's going to go way fast or way slow. I nailed it. Let me just tell you, I fucking nailed it. I did it perfectly.
If you were worried for even a second, get it out of your mind.
Yeah,
That was perfect.
Tony's a human metronome. Don't be worried about that.
It was perfect. Yeah, we rehearsed a couple times, and then on August 12th, 2006, I played in front of hundreds of people who piled onto the Alden streets. As a 14-year-old, it was very, very cool. And like they just kind of were like, oh, we're going to have a very special guest for this next song. And then the special guest is my son, Tony Ryder. And I came on and everyone was like, oh. And then they all got out their little cheap 2006 phones and tried to record it. I really want to find a video of it. So if anyone was somehow listening to this that was in Alden on that night, I want to see a video
I
of
don't
it.
know
And you
if
still have
video on phone was a thing at this point.
Well, it might have been pictures.
Yeah,
but
Maybe
like,
someone
had a
got
hand
something.
cam.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. So I actually got to meet the band as well, Firehouse, not Roxylvania Avenue. I knew those guys. And I even played the drummer's drum set for a little bit in Firehouse, which was a small dream come true. I didn't know it was a dream I had, but it was a dream that came true for me.
That'll happen.
Yeah. So when I wasn't dicking around at a bar, I was trying to play the drums wherever I could. The band practice moved to the bar as well, so I would go with them when I got to get the chance to play the drums when they would take breaks, just like in the basement, but at the bar. And it was fun because I could dick around at a bar. I got good enough that I wanted to play the drums wherever I could. When I was in middle school, I went with my sister to her high school. She was 4 years older than me, where they would get ready to go to marching band for the town's football games. They would play in the stands and then they would play the halftime show. Not good. We weren't good, the football team or the marching band, but it was fun to go to. And so I did this for two reasons. One, because I could get into the football for games for free with the band. They were sneaking in a little like 14-year-old, which is cool, or 13, 14-year-old, whatever. And two, because the school had a drum set. And so when I got there, I would plop myself down and play. Everyone was practicing their instrument and it was really loud in there. So I had no problem just jamming along. I was noticed by a guy a couple of years older than me who was in high school named Justin Alstead, who was an incredible drummer. I still stand by. He's one of the best drummers that ever came out of Iowa Falls. He played
Kid
the
shredded.
quads. Oh, he played the quads for the University of Iowa marching band. He was like a drum major there and stuff. Very, very talented drummer. He asked if I had ever taken drum lessons before, and when I said no, he offered to teach me. He also invited me to join a group called Sheltered Reality, which was a nonprofit drum group that would play events and church services for a small price around the Midwest. The leader was an eccentric, enthusiastic, not gay guy.
Not gay.
Definitely
not
gay.
He was straight as a rail, who encouraged everyone to wear the most vibrant clothing possible when they were playing. Like I remember having to like borrow people's clothes because
There's a
he
lot
said,
of neon going on in there.
Lots
it
of
was
bright
the
colors.
loudest loudest patterns you could find was what he wanted you to play. Again, not gay.
Definitely not gay.
Don't get confused here.
We would play the timbales, which if you don't know what those are, they're stand-up 2 drums. They're very loud, and cowbells. Another incredibly, just 2 of the most obnoxious instruments you could play is what we played. We played hits like POD's The Youth of a Nation and We've Got the Beat and Vacation by the Go-Go's. There would be this big PA system that would blast the music, and then there would be like 30 kids playing these timbales over the music. It was so loud.
You could hear it in the whole goddamn town.
4th of July,
loud,
River Bend Rally, multiple years in a row.
Yes.
Yeah, it was sweet though, honestly.
Yes, it was.
It was a good time, yeah. It was a lot of fun. We played various events around the state, and when I was in it, we even went to Chicago, and we had to pay our own way there. And since I was like in middle school, I actually DJ'd one of my middle school dances to raise money for. My dad was a DJ, and my dad said he would take a huge pay cut for this event if I could be the DJ and not him. So I think he got paid like $150, and then he gave me 75 of it. I was not a good DJ. I was a really bad DJ.
Well, you put the skills to the test in later years to come.
My sister wanted to be in Sheltered Reality so bad. She bought your guys' CD and would practice in her room like night after night. Like she would keep the CD on repeat. It was damn annoying.
I don't know if I feel comfortable with you lumping me in at this
sorry,
point.
But it's happened.
Your CD just doesn't feel
The one
right.
you helped create.
The CD that you guys drummed
up.
to for Sheltered Reality. The one that played on the PA really loud.
Oh, I when I was doing research for this episode, I was trying to look up stuff about it, and I found the brochure and the form for it, and it's like $400 to get them to play anywhere you want, and it looks like the form was made in like Microsoft Word. Like it's very cheaply done, and
very cheap.
the website is just
template.
one page. Yeah, I don't think it's been updated in quite a while, but they still have stuff on their calendar, man. They're still somehow going.
Wow, they're rocking it still. That's
I don't know how. I eventually got out. I phased myself out of Sheltered Reality and played more conventional drums, moving from the timbales to the drum set. I actually chose to play trombone when I was in the 5th grade, and I primarily chose to play this because I was really short, and most people said that I couldn't play the trombone. That was the one instrument I couldn't play, and so I was stubborn, and I did it out of spite.
God damn it. You proved them mother frickers wrong.
That's right. I was number 3 trombone, I think, out of like 6. So top half.
Pretty good.
Not bad at all. So when I got to high school, I was one of the best drummers in the band, and I played trombone. So my band director said that she wanted to make a deal with me. And so for marching and pep band, I could play the drums. And for concert band, I would play the trombone. So for 5 months out of the school year, I was a drummer, playing the marching quads with Justin for the marching band, and quads and trap for the pep band. And I did not know how to read music, and I was the second best drummer in the band, and I just memorized parts. And I very much regret not playing drums because I very much wish I could read drum music now, but I can't. That's fine. I'll probably never learn.
I'm the same way. I can't read musical notes on sheet music, but I know what the tonation stuff means. That's all I know how to read.
Yeah, that's all you really need to know. I'm not good at like even seeing a rhythm and playing it unless I hear it first, and then I can hear it, and then
Austin can just read all of it.
Every instrument I play, I can read the music of.
Hey, good
Austin
job.
was almost a band director himself because he's like a savant.
Should have been it. Should have done it.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
So this was my main source of drumming, playing in the marching and pep band until 2009. I was approached by Reyes Harmon, a guy a few years older than me, saying that he was starting a new project and wanted to know if I wanted to join, which I was all in. This dude was like, he had like a new project like every 6 months. He was always trying something new. He was a guitarist and a singer, and he was always trying something. So finally I got my turn with him. And I didn't have a drum set at the time, or I did, but it was a very cheap no-name drum set that I got for Christmas. It was like $100. So we decided to make a Frankenstein set while we practiced. We recruited another local guitarist, one of my good friends, Matthew Brady, hereby known as Brady. Everyone calls him Brady. We practiced through the summer, writing a couple of songs. when we were approached by a guy in our town to ask if we wanted to record something. We recorded a song and realized it sounded a little hollow. So we asked our other friend, Matt Booth, hereby known as Booth, if he wanted to play bass for us. He was a guitarist by trade, but he decided to try out the bass because he wanted to be in a band. That was the lineup that we practiced through the summer, and once school got back in session, we played our first show in Race's backyard with our official name, I'm Prettier Than You. Not a great name.
Hey, it's not forgettable.
I guess.
I do think Race was listening to Cute Is What We Aim For pretty heavily at the time. Nothing wrong with that, but I mean, that kind of explains the thought process.
You can really see the connection there. Yeah, there's no like fun story about it. We were trying to figure out names, and then I think at one point he just texted us and was like, we're going with I'm Prettier Than You. And we were like, that's funny. That's a clever name. And so we did, and that's what we were for a long time. So we played this show with an old crappy PA, and I borrowed my dad's Tama drum set. It was a really good turnout, and so we thought we had something. I think there was like 50 people there. We just played it on this little cement pad right outside of Race's barn, and like it was a lot of fun.
I collected the money.
Hell yeah, we charged. We charged to get in.
I wanted to go so bad, and I don't know what happened.
There's quite a lot of people there.
Didn't go.
Yeah. You really missed out, man. It was a good time. So we played. So after that, we decided, we were going to keep doing this. So we played in Iowa Falls, Ames, Cedar Falls, Des Moines, and really anywhere we could. That Christmas, I actually got really lucky, and my dad gave me his Tama drum set. So it was officially mine. I didn't have to play on a no-name drum set anymore. And so I was really stoked for that. And then after that, we went to Minnesota to IPR, which is a recording school up in Minneapolis, where Race had a friend who was studying there. And that's where we recorded our second song. The guy got class credit for it, and we got a song out of it. So it wasn't too bad.
Yeah, win-win.
Doesn't sound very good, but it was good.
Hey,
just fine.
You gotta start somewhere.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, start somewhere.
So we continued to play wherever we could, including city festivals like 4th of July and city jams, birthday parties, grad parties, whatever we could play, we did it. We really didn't say no to anything. We played in multiple churches. Like, it was very fun. We played in one church, and we played The Devil Went Down to Georgia because we thought it'd be funny. It was funny to us, but that doesn't matter.
Everyone else hated it.
a lot of things are fun for us and really no one else.
Yeah,
but
well, hey, look,
this whole podcast.
You gotta do it for you.
We're there times with this media.
Yes, we are.
So then in the summer of 2010, we decided that we were going to legitimately record. So we decided that we were going to go up to 37 studios in Rochester Hills, Michigan, who saw names like Hawthorne Heights, Machine Gun Kelly, Yellow Wolf, as well as many other big names. We were produced and recorded by Matt Dalton, who was actually the official producer for the band I See Stars for a while. And then there was us. We were out of our element.
I think he worked really closely with Craig Owens from Chiodos as well, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because I think
a producer for his solo stuff.
Yeah, yeah, and then there's just the little freaking 4 little fuckheads.
I'm Prettier Than You, stepping in.
Oh yeah, we paid $1,300, and that guy was like, "These guys are garbage."
Did he tell you what date to come? Is that what happened?
He laughed all the way to the bank. Oh yeah, we had to set up studio
he's
time.
This is what I have open. This is what you get.
I think that's kind of how it works anytime.
Yeah,
you don't go and they don't have time
that's
open.
True.
Yeah, unless you're like a legitimate band, you can be like, "Hey, we're coming this week to record."
I guess.
Yeah, but we were just like, we want to record some music. Can we record some music, sir? He's like, "Oh yeah, just make sure that check doesn't bounce, and we're good to go." So we headed up there. We recorded 3 songs over 3 days, and when we were done, we put out an official EP called Turning Pages. It's generic poppy punk rock, but I'll put it on our website for everyone to hear. I have no qualms about it. It's kind of fun. It was a great time, and we had a good time when we were there.
Hey, that's all that fucking matters, man.
Exactly, man. So we brought along our friend Andrew Gustin, who is our unofficial keyboardist, and I say unofficial because he could barely play his instrument, but he had to look.
He looked good. Yep,
he looked like he should be in a pop punk band, and he couldn't play. Like I said, he couldn't play the instrument. He actually just got a synth with his grad money, and so we decided he was in. I think we said, "Yeah, just go buy yourself a synth."
He had a little microphone, right?
Yep.
Yeah, he did.
Oh yeah, it was like a legitimate.
Yeah, it was a good little synth. I remember.
And then he sold it because he'd like, I don't have a use for this.
Don't need this anymore.
Yeah. And then we actually also brought along Austin here, who did vocals on one of our songs called Scandalous Me.
I was not very great at the time.
It was fine.
I still love it. Austin, was that your first time like screaming on an album?
Yeah.
Or like doing something, any legitimate recording?
It was the first time that was not in my car or in Ethan's attic.
Or at my computer making a sweet Devil Wears Prada cover.
That's true. We did that a lot too, didn't we?
Yes, we did. I tried to forget that too, and it just came up.
I'm just glad that we got a pop your recording cherry, man. That means a lot to us.
Yep, my first
a lot
time.
to me specifically. We actually joke a lot that whenever Andrew was giving you shit at the time, we would just say like, well, Andrew, you're not even on our album and Austin is. So technically Austin's more in the band than you are. But that's fine.
Take that, Gustin.
Yeah, suck it,
Andrew.
So driving up there, it was 7 guys crammed into like a Chrysler Town and Country for a 13-hour car ride with all of our equipment. And we decided to take out the middle seat, and Austin and I claimed the whole middle floor.
We just laid
so
on
it
the
was
floor
2
the
guys in
whole
front,
time.
2 guys who took up a lot of space between Austin and I, and then 3 guys crammed onto the back bench seat. But goddamn, was it worth it?
Oh, it was great. It was a fun time.
And one thing you guys need to know is when we weren't recording, we were screwing around with the other band that was there, a band called To Breathe Among Giants. We also played on our computers, like video games on our computers and everything. But like, you know, it was a pretty wild time. I was naked. This is 10 years ago. I was naked most of the time we were there.
Yeah,
and,
it was a lot.
It was most of the time.
Which you think would sound weird, but it's the only reason we became friends with this other band that was there.
Yes. So the first day we were there, it was very standoffish. I don't know how you're supposed to act around other bands that you don't know, but like they had a back bedroom, and then we took the living room to sleep on because you stayed in the studio, and like we did not talk to each other. We like caught glances of each other and
it wasn't
didn't say
really
anything.
even any like cordial. Like there was no like highs or like how's it going.
No,
it was really
tense.
weird.
It was real standoffish. But the second day, when the engineer was leaving, I decided it'd be funny to get butt naked and stand on the like a chair,
on top
like
of a chair,
like an old general on his horse. And the guy the engineer walks into like the living area. I'm directly to his left. He looks to the right and goes, "Well, have a good evening, guys. See you tomorrow." And then walks out, never sees us. I'm literally like a statue. I don't move. And the other band comes out and they're like, "What the hell just happened?"
What was that? Like this guy literally had to turn his head enough to make his chin match with his shoulder. Like he did not have to turn far, and he didn't even. He somehow walked right through that hall without seeing, and somehow it made everyone want to hang out.
After that, we were all so close. We got so close that they actually recorded they recorded on one of our songs, and I believe we recorded on one of their songs. Like we did gang vocals on each other's songs. We got that close, and then after the fact, we played a couple shows with them. They came down for a couple nights. They were from Chicago, and it was just a good time. Yep. All I'm saying is my dick brings people together. That's the point of this story.
It always
very
has,
true.
kind of honestly.
Yeah.
It's
a magnificent sight.
Tony Ryder 2020. So after we were done,
that's a good platform. That's a platform we can get behind.
I have a dick that brings people together. That's
you can call me Lyndon, man. Call me old Lyndon B. Johnson.
Big old hog. Biggest hog in history.
Yep.
Oh man.
So after we were done, we got the songs back and we moved to Cedar Falls where we started college. We were just trying to promote this as much as we could, and it made things a lot easier since we were in a big town. We played places like the Hub, which is since closed, and Spicoli's, which is somehow still open.
Kicking still. No one really
does
knows
not make
how.
any sense. Yeah, those names won't mean much to most people, but they were just local. They might be.
It could
running
easily
cocaine.
be.
Those were just little music venues. Doesn't really matter to most listeners. But in late 2010, a venue opened up called the Wheelhouse, which got a lot bigger shows in. And during our time there, that was incredible.
God, it was so good.
I don't know why it did so poorly because it was like top of the line venue and they got huge names in there. Like
I think it's just that it was Cedar Falls. The shows did well when they came, but they couldn't come often enough.
Damn.
That's very true. Yeah. When we played there, we played with names like the Ready Set, which is a very poppy band, Red, which is like a more like hard rock band, and then the band that everyone would know would be Red Jumpsuit Apparatus. We played with them. And so, yeah, you know that band. Right?
Face down in the
hurt. She said, this doesn't hurt. She said.
They were so annoyed that they had to play that song. Like, they played all of their music, and then right at the end, they were like, all right, we got one more for you. And then it is... And everyone went wild, and you could just see the life leaving the band's eyes.
They're like, man, we hate this song.
Damn it.
Why is the only other good song we wrote completely acoustic?
Yeah.
Shit.
So good.
That is a good song.
It is so good.
So we were a very high energy band. We just really like to have a good time. We made our songs as fast as possible because we just wanted to jam on stage, whatever, and dick around. So Brady, Booth, Andrew, who is now in the band, albeit pretty shortly, had a really great time on stage. We would have choreographed slow-mo fights during a breakdown of one of the songs and then synchronized dance moves for a lot of our other songs. Like, it was all very corny, but it was a ton of fun. We really loved doing it.
It's a good time.
Thank you. Yeah. And there was like, you could start to see a little rift in the band at this point, because while we were all having this really fun time, like Race, our lead singer, he would like just stand there and like, he held his hands out like he was like some like
Thanos.
Omnipotent. Yeah.
Like a
just,
weird theatric type of thing. And then he'd like move his arms dramatically when there was a big crescendo in the music.
And we were all just dicking around in the back, like obviously having a great time. And it was like Race just was doing it for the, for the look of it. And I don't want to rag too much on him because, he's still, I wouldn't say he's my friend, but I don't have any ill feelings towards him.
He's an acquaintance.
But it's fine. Yeah. If I ran into him, I'd say hi to him and whatever.
Yeah.
But, so we also entered and won a contest for a local magazine called Yellow Brick, in which we won a photo shoot, which I'll put those photos up because I'm very proud of those photos, a spot in the magazine, and the biggest prize was a session at a studio in Des Moines called the Sonic Factory. So we had created more music and decided to try out these new, more intricate tracks. So in early 2011, we headed to Des Moines to record at the studio. We recorded for 3 days there. Those songs were released, and we kept working and playing through the year. During that year, Andrew left the band, just kind of like kicked him out. And we were like, Andrew, we really like you, man, but I don't think this is working. He's like, cool, man. Oh, peace. I'm out.
Totally
Like,
fair.
thank you. He was so happy. He was so happy that he was out.
Oh, man.
And then, like I said, he very quickly sold his synth and moved on with his life.
I love
So
Andrew.
we did decide that we wanted a piano in the band. We liked that we liked the feeling that gave us. And so we asked another friend of ours, Chris Powell, to join. He was studying vocals and piano at UNI and was easily the best musician in the band, like miles above
Very
the rest of us.
talented guy,
Yeah, he was a great addition to the band. Like he was an incredible singer, and Race was not the best singer. Again, don't want to rag too much on Race. But like Race would do his parts, and he would sometimes be a little flat with his notes, and Chris was so good that he would harmonize with the flat notes because he knew it was better to harmonize with the wrong note than to sing himself the right note and make it sound clashing that way.
Lord.
So like he was real talented.
Next, you're going to tell me he pitch shifted with the little pitch shifter on his keyboard to make that in tune too.
Maybe we should have. That would have been probably for the best. So he was a great addition to the band, and 2011 was a great year for us. But all that would come to an end in early 2012. Brady was going to school at Wartburg, about 20 minutes north of UNI, and it's a little private school where they had like a talent show, battle of the bands. We thought we were shoo-ins. We'd already been a band for 2 years. We'd recorded twice, been on little short weekend warrior tours, yada, yada, yada. We thought it was going to be easy peasy, go win some money. So we went to play it. When we lost to like this, I don't know. I think it was like a comedian with like an arm defect. I don't know.
Some sort of palsy, maybe?
Like his arm was underdeveloped, and so he had the short. Yeah, it's fine, but like I think
that could
it's
be
fine.
from palsy.
It could.
Yeah,
I don't
maybe.
know. I
don't
don't
know. I don't
understand
know.
these things.
I'm not a doctor.
It doesn't
I know
matter,
that.
I guess.
But this wasn't.
But yeah, he won. We lost, and we were very well. Some of us were very upset about it. It created a pretty big rift in the band. Race thought that we should have won. It should have been no problem. And he began questioning everything. Like Brady, Booth, Chris, and I went to like Burger King afterwards, and we got this long text message that said, we need to reevaluate the band. I don't think that this is working for us. We should like basically, and it all came from this loss. And so we were like, well, I don't.
God.
Well, the four of us were just like, I don't give a shit what happens.
I have a quick
Like,
question.
Yeah, what's up?
What was the price? Like, what did you really lose?
Like a couple $100.
Oh, wow.
It was really, it was
I think
not.
it's the pride more than anything.
Nothing.
Yeah. Oh, it was
Yeah.
all about just the fact that we didn't win was all that mattered.
God, there's nothing worse than seeing the band chat ping and it's just a long, huge wall of text. I can't tell you how many times my stomach has dropped straight into my nuts.
It's real tank, and yeah, we were all just trying to enjoy our friggin' angry whoppers and our
I'm
and our
pissed
onion
off. I want to
rings.
have a hot piece of shit sandwich.
we were and it was just like, oh, we gotta figure this out. Like, we can't do this, whatever, blah blah blah. So we evaluated our whole sound and we like, even we're gonna change up our name. We're gonna become a whole new band basically, just because we didn't know what we were gonna do.
Hey, Tony.
So yeah,
Been through that. Still didn't help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
does not work. Yes, we had stuff written and it was kind of catchy, but like it just didn't work. Whatever. But in mid 2012, we decided it wasn't going to work, and so we decided to call it quit. Funnily enough, actually, we decided to get back together in late 2012 to play the 2013 Battle of the Bands. We practiced twice, then played the show and won easily. We played a rendition of B.O.B.'s Don't Let Me Down and then 2 originals. We thought about rejoining, like, when you get back with an ex-girlfriend, you have sex, and it's like, yeah, we could probably make this work again. And then you realize,
Oh, wait, I hate
so we
you.
decided to call it quits again.
Jesus.
Brady Booth and I played the 2014 Battle of the Bands just for fun. We just got together again, played a couple times. We were just dicking around. We didn't win. That's fine. And then after that, that was truly it for I'm Prettier Than You. I played drums for a local church for a couple years, but that too fell by the wayside when I got a job that conflicted with the time. Now I play in a basement by myself to my headphones. And so that's me musically. Now I'm going to talk briefly about this podcast and why it got started, because I really like this story. So I'd always been fascinated with music and the creation of music and how that kind of happens to be. And so I decided, so Austin and I decided in 2018 that we wanted to do a podcast. They were booming. Austin and I were listening to a lot of podcasts. We really liked it. So we decided we want to try it for ourselves, but we had no idea what we wanted to do it over. And so we just kind of sat on it for a little bit. And so I actually looked at, I was kind of watching like documentaries and stuff like that on musicians. And I looked at that famous issue or that famous image of Led Zeppelin when they're outside their plane, like, they're all standing by the big wing of they're like 727, whatever plane they have. I don't know. Ethan could tell you if I'm right or wrong there.
It's probably a Learjet if it's small.
I think it was big.
If it's
747?
Okay, if it's big, it's probably a Boeing.
Yeah, I think it's a full-size jet. And so I was really curious, like, what did Led Zeppelin do right to get to the point where they could afford a jet? Like, for every band that makes it, there's 1,000 bands that don't make it. So why did that one band make it? Like, how did their sound do it? And why do bands make it every day, but other bands don't make it? You look at bands that are like universally seen as like garbage bands. Why are they world famous? But there are a lot of bands that are really good. Why are they not really famous? So that's kind of got in my head. And so I started looking up behind the scenes stuff of it, like how they kind of got to the point where they did. And I was like, this would be the perfect idea for a podcast, an in-depth history of musicians. So I pitched that idea to Austin for On and 5.
Loved it.
Loved it. But we had no idea where we were going to start. We didn't have any technical knowledge or anything like that. It was just, we should do this. And then Austin kind of said, like, get it started, and you can, I'm going to explain this poorly. So why don't you explain your side so I don't make you sound like an asshole?
I was basically just like, I'm all in. I'm pretty bad with technology, so if you can get the stuff or tell me what I need to get and how I need to do it, I'm all on board. And basically we decided we were going to do it, and I was like, all right, do we start with Guns N' Roses or do we start with AC/DC? Those are my votes. And then Tony said, let's do Guns N' Roses, and then we did real quick.
And that's how it was. Yeah, I just gotten a job at UNI, where Austin and I went to school, and I worked in IT. And one of the benefits of IT is that there's a checkout area where you can check out a ton of equipment. And so I was like, all right, we can do this. And so we just immediately like hit the ground running, started reading books, everything like that. And then Ethan said that that was in April 2018 that all that happened. And so Ethan heard what we were doing. We were talking about it on a Facebook Messenger group or whatever, and Ethan was a part of it and asked if he could tag along, which we said, hell yeah. But just a heads up, this thing is a fucking rocket, man. Hold on, because things are moving. Like we were like, all right, you got to start reading a book. You got to we're going to meet up on this day.
Yeah, we got to be ready to meet up within like 2 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. And so on May 4th, 2019, 1 year to the day of this recording, we recorded episode 1, Guns N' Roses Part 1 in Ethan's dad's spare bedroom.
1 year ago.
1 year.
We did it.
PVC piping,
anniversary.
Blankets.
Anniversary show.
Oh, we did it.
We're here to stay.
Little $30 studio. Doesn't sound great. We probably don't sound great ourselves, but that's fine. We all got really drunk and recorded from like 8 p.m. to 3 a.m. And ever since then, it's been a hell of a ride. We've recorded almost religiously. And that's my story, man.
We're pretty strict on recording.
26 episodes, I think. I think it's every 2 weeks. And so that's it. It's been so fun.
Make something good. Gotta have a schedule. Yeah, it's been so much fun.
One time.
All right.
Oh, man.
I guess it's my turn.
You're up, buddy.
It's been a whole year. Huh. All right. My name is Ethan Michael Allen William Bonine.
3 middle names, man. That's very, very badass. I hope you assassinate a president or something so that you go down in history with all your names, like John Wilkes Booth or Lee Harvey Oswald.
Yeah.
Like, I hope newscasters have to say, Ethan Michael Allen William Bonine took the shot.
You know,
the fatal shot.
That's the only way to live up to a name like that. Yeah.
You know, the funny thing is I share a last name and a middle name with a fairly infamous serial killer named William Bonine, and he killed and raped like 23 boys that he got charged for, at least.
That is
called him the freeway killer. Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
It's pretty true.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Pretty cool namesake.
Two-fifths of the way there,
it's
man.
It's not my dad who has the same name. Definitely not.
But he did name you after him, though.
But
there was
intentionally.
I think my dad named me after him, but who knows? Who could know?
I don't know about that. I don't know. Yeah, I don't think so.
Anyway, I was born on June 21st, 1992 in Iowa Falls as well. I moved a lot as a child, but eventually my parents did come back to Iowa Falls halfway through kindergarten. My dad was
How could you not?
I mean,
how could you not?
How could you come back to the thriving town of Iowa Falls?
Metropolis.
Yes. He constantly blared music in the car as a kid, and I attribute it to my hearing loss, and always encouraged us to sing along.
I know Bill was jamming to just Creedence and Ted Nugent 24/7.
You're half right, because there was so much Creedence. You weren't much for
Oh my God.
not much for Nugent. Who knew?
Driving that Camaro with the top off. Creedence blaring.
Baby.
You know what? The best part about that is he got it after he turned 50. So
The Camaro, yeah. Hey, that's a move.
I heard he put garbage bags down on the seats because, like, if anyone was riding with them, like,
it's gonna be soaked. You know what the worst part about that Camaro was? The radio didn't work. Austin, do you remember me having to play music on my phone in that Camaro?
Yeah, I think I do recall that, actually.
Yeah, because that's true. Because the radio
Nightmare.
was stuck on the attention mode, and we couldn't figure out how to get it off.
Oh, son
There was no
son
remote
of a
in the
bitch.
that that is my nightmare when I listen to music, is having to listen to it like through a poor medium.
Yeah.
Oh,
It is a
I hate
nightmare,
it.
and I lived it every time I drove his car.
Oh, man.
My dad clearly had no musical talent, but was always avid that his father, who was a World War II artillery veteran, played the fiddle and accordion to them as children, like would sing and play.
Very, very 50s, 40s instruments. Yeah.
Yeah, he said that the musical talent must have skipped a generation because my sister and I were both fairly musically involved. My sister did band and choir all the way through high school, and I sang choir through high school, and my mother actually sang in church quite a bit. She would get those little green instrumental tapes, and we would have to listen to her practice in her car all the time.
That's so fun.
It's terrible.
So fun to be a part of.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there was no rift between your parents with your mom listening to like
Choir
go
music.
tell it on the mountain, and then just in the background, like, I wanna know, have you ever
seen
get in, Pam? We're we're going to the bar.
Well, that's why it only made it 2 years, maybe 5. Who knows? I was mostly
what?
I mean, now that I'm
years,
thinking,
maybe 5.
I think it might have actually
who
been
knows?
kindergarten when they got married. Now that I'm thinking
okay.
about it, because I mean, it's not something that's like a memory I really remember. I remember that the wedding reception was at the bowling alley, but that's about it.
That's Iowa Falls for you.
It's the truth.
That's nice.
And now it's closed, which is a premonition of my parents' marriage. All right.
Shit.
Anyway, I was mostly involved in sports during school. I also did choir, like I said, off and on. I did it all the way through high school. I'd fallen in and out of it. I hated the music selection, but there were always girls in choir, so I liked it. And
Nice.
no one wants to sing songs from Oklahoma, especially in middle school.
Ethan, are you saying that our 30-person choir at our poor public school that didn't give a shit about the arts didn't do the first pick of the songs that were chosen? I don't believe that for a second. Come on. Are you saying that the school didn't just go pick songs out of the community theater's trash can after they were done with them?
I think what they actually did is probably went to the private school in Fort Dodge and got it out of their trash can. That's gotta
Yeah,
they just.
that could
yeah.
easily be.
Anyway, my senior year, we had a decent small group of boys in chamber choir, and we ended up at Iowa State in Ames to perform with Jackson Herzog. He was in that small group.
Yeah, man, he's just really talented all around.
Actually, we had a really crappy acoustic guitar in the choir room, and I couldn't recognize a note from hearing it. So I used to say, Jackson, sing me an E. And he would give me an E, and I would tune the top string and then tune the rest off that.
Our friend Jackson
kinda fun.
is the most insane person you'd ever met. He got a 35 on his ACTs.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
He's a
Missed
very
one
smart
point
man.
on his
He's a
ACT.
doctor now, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
he's
yeah.
a doctor.
Yeah.
He's a doctor. Everything that you could do, he could do better.
Literally the best Guitar Hero player you will ever see in your
You
life.
know what? He didn't
The
stay
only
out for
thing
football.
that I did better. The only thing that I did better than Jackson Herzog was create insulin out of my pancreas.
Yeah, he wasn't very good at that. That's true. I don't. He's not very good. He's still with us.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
he's
doing
fine, yeah.
fine. But yes, that is
Yeah,
true.
He runs,
You're right.
he runs marathons every Saturday and works out. And so he's the perfect
More of a
man. But it doesn't
than I'll ever
matter.
be, yeah.
In high school, I became extremely interested in the harsh vocals that I heard in the music that I had been listening to since middle school. And I decided that I needed to be able to do that. Bands like Asking Alexandria, Job for a Cowboy, and Haste the Day. So I had a really crappy setup in my attic with a cheap guitar amplifier. I don't even know if it had a brand name on it. I don't remember.
I don't know.
Doesn't
And
matter.
it doesn't really matter. And it was not the best setup ever.
Hey man, I put a drum set in my room made out of the shells of my dad's old sets, and they had no heads on them, no hi-hats, no cymbals. I would just play on the rims of it, and that's how I practiced for a couple years. So you make do with what you got.
That's right. Got to make do.
Yep.
Oh, man. Prior to graduating, I decided I was going to swear into the delayed entry program for the United States Air Force. I got a shipping date of November of 2010. I kind of got to choose it because he asked when I wanted to ship, and I told him I wanted to stay over the summer. So
Yeah, good on you.
Good call, too.
Nothing's
Yeah.
scarier than a high school senior knowing you're going to get shipped overseas.
Yeah.
Nothing scarier
Yeah.
than that.
terrifying.
Got a good time
Anyway.
that summer, though.
Yeah, I did have a great time. So I started a little band with some friends. We called ourselves I Am the Actual. We wrote a few songs, but definitely had some inner turmoil within the band. We didn't ever play a show. We got offered one show for sure. It did, however, give me an urge to keep pursuing music that followed me into the military.
That's all you need.
Yeah.
Sometimes those non-starters are exactly what you need.
That's right.
Just
in the
feel
military,
that fire under your bum.
That's right. Just get it deep inside my heart. In the military, I learned pretty fast that it was really easy to meet people that like music as well. It seems like everyone in the military. It seems like a last shot for a lot of people, especially some of the older ones that
Don't
join.
say.
Yeah.
Oh,
You
no.
know,
So-
don't say.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like I had a 2.5 GPA and I didn't want to have college debt. It's crazy. After basic training, I was stationed at Keesler Air Force Base in Biloxi, Mississippi. I started there January 1st, 2011.
Happy New Year, man. Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year.
Wow.
It was so cool. It was awesome. While there, we had a little music room. It was at basically the center of all the training squadrons we had. And there was a synthesizer in there, a guitar and a drum set, and I don't know if there was actually a PA, but I know there was a microphone that I used through something as a PA. And I spent a lot of
Good
time in
enough?
there. Yeah, it was definitely good enough. On April 1st, though, I arrived in North Texas at Shepherd Air Force Base. Yes?
I'm surprised that having a music room on a base seems way more progressive than I would ever think that the military would be. I feel like the military that intentionally tries to like break you down. So letting you like explore some kind of arts is something I would not expect.
Well,
this is
if you think
post-basic
about
training.
it, the Air Force still has in BMT in the Air Force, because of how traditional the Air Force is, they still have a military band that plays at basic training graduation. If you're in
That's true.
Yeah, if you're, because I know that the Army has so many different training bases that they've kind of phased out the traditional marching band that plays for graduation.
Yeah.
But the Air Force is very traditional, only has one training base. So if you join the marching band in the Air Force during basic, you play every graduation until you graduate, which I hear is debilitating. But anyway,
Can't imagine.
I had
imagine
a
that.
very close friend who watched a bunch of people leave for 8 weeks straight, and then he finally got to leave.
Oh my God! Yikes!
Oh yeah, oh man, he's a really good friend, but he did not have a good time in basic.
Yeah,
It's terrible.
Just all these people you're surrounded by that constantly leave. It's awesome. Anyway,
Sound fine. Sound fine with
on
that.
April 1st, I arrived in North Texas at Shepherd Air Force Base in Wichita Falls, Texas, for more training, because apparently 2 months of training wasn't enough. I got a hold of an acoustic guitar while I was there, and I made a couple of friends. They let me borrow this acoustic guitar that I got a hold of. I only got to play it on the weekends, and usually we went to the smoke pit to play it. So, yeah.
First, let me tell you, you're an asshole for playing the acoustic guitar at a party.
I am.
I'm going to say that up front.
I've done it at plenty of year parties.
Anyway, here's Wonderwall.
Yep. Second of all, it kind of blows my mind that you didn't like start playing the guitar until after high school, just because now knowing you, and this was 9 years ago, but knowing you now, the guitar just fits you so well. You're always breaking it
It's like
out,
your
man.
thing, yeah.
That is
and so
because
seems like you should have been playing it for longer.
I did not put it in here that I started playing when I was 13. Actually, I have the first guitar I started playing when I was 13 that my mother gave me, because my mother bought a guitar for lessons when I was 13. And I played it more than she did. So that's actually when I started playing. So that's
fine.
my
That's
story. I started playing when I was 13. I learned from tablatures because, like I said earlier, I cannot read sheet music. I didn't get a guitar lesson guy. I'd watch YouTube videos, and I'm a very good visual learner. I can watch someone do something and usually be able to pick it up. So that's how I learned guitar.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's fun. That's fun.
Yeah.
How fun is
How
that?
fun is that? That's pretty
That's
fun.
very fun. Yeah.
It's got me
Pretty fun.
some shitty covers on the internet. After 5 more months of training in Texas, I got cut orders to Oklahoma City at Tinker Air Force Base. And I arrived in Oklahoma City in July of 2011. It was really cool driving into Oklahoma City at the time, because the Devon Tower, which sits in downtown Oklahoma City, was still being built at the time. So there's this giant crane just looming over the city with a partially built building just sitting in the center of town. They were still actively developing what they call Bricktown now too. So it was, I had never lived in a big city before, so I was coming in.
We don't have them.
Yeah, we don't have big
That's
cities in
something for
Iowa. Yeah,
And
well,
especially
Iowa Falls
then,
boy.
Des Moines
Yeah.
is like kind of big now, but it was like a quarter of the size back then. It's tripled in size in the 4 years I've been here.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like
And it's still not like
Still not a huge city in
quote-unquote big
comparison.
city, yeah.
Yeah, and Oklahoma City, I mean, it's big, obviously. I mean, it's got an NBA team. It's got a lot of stuff, but it's easy to get around. It's mostly square mileage. It's not very, what do I want to say, densely populated. But it was really cool. And it was very surreal for me because I'd never been somewhere that big. And while in
That's very
Oklahoma, I worked on the E3, also known as the AWACS.
No military abbreviations, please. No military abbreviations. We are civilians, which I believe is the highest ranking member of the military you can be in. I am telling you as an order, no abbreviations.
All right, this is I think it's air warning alert control system. I think it's air warning alert control system. That's what I would go with. I know that it's basically a giant snitch in the sky. It's got this giant dome on the back of it. It's huge.
It's the plane.
Yeah, it's a giant airplane that I worked on. Yes. Yeah. It's a very, very cool airplane. It's a Boeing 707 that's been converted into a military aircraft. It's essentially a commercial airliner with military shit on it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Is it in any movies that I may have seen?
What would we have seen it in?
If you've ever seen, I think it's the second Transformers. Which one's the second Transformers? I don't remember.
I know the scene you're talking about. They're in the desert and they're circling around with the AWACS.
Yeah, they say it. I know they say deploy the AWACS. And obviously, at the time, I was in the military when that movie came out, so everyone was like, this is so dumb. Because the way they portrayed it in the movies wasn't very accurate. Like, they used a mock-up interior that wasn't actually the interior, and when it was on the ground, they volunteered people to be in that scene. So it's not real. That's what it is. It's Hollywood.
Oh, you don't say.
Yeah.
You could have been a movie star, man.
Right.
Yeah, you could have been on there.
I don't think it would have flown. I think at the time I was just like zeroing my head because I was too lazy to fade it. I didn't start fading my hair until like 2013 because that's when I started getting a little edgy in the Air Force. That's when I started changing my mind about things.
Anyways, that's when you decided you weren't going to be a lifer.
That's when I decided this shit fucking sucks. So I made it pretty clear in my shop that I was pretty interested in music at the time. I wanted to try and jam with people, and I found out that quite a few people in my squadron did play music and were jamming. So I got in touch with one guy from my shop and like 3 other guys from a bunch of various other shops, and we started jamming. I think we were jamming on weekends is what we were doing. And we were trying to play modern Pantera. We're trying to make it more, I would say that it was more metalcore Pantera, if anything.
I do remember that, that modern style Pantera song you put out that was called Plank. That was really you guys get it? Like Walk, like Pantera song Walk, but it's Plank.
Walk the Plank? I don't get it.
Oh my God.
You get it? Like how the people used to plank. Like that's something people that's like
a
did 5 years ago.
Joke, right? Because do people still plank? Is that a thing?
No, not for years. Not for years.
We should bring it back. Why not?
Not ever since that kid died.
Yeah. That is pretty sad,
We had a lot of fun, but anything we did never saw the light of day. I pretty much was there because it was fun and because I was a minor at the time and was getting given beer, which I thought was awesome. And I just got to yell, and I didn't get to yell very often. I'm being in line all the time. I needed an outlet.
You got it, brother.
It's true. Although that project didn't make much music, it did introduce me to a guitarist named John Reynolds. He was playing in the project at the time, and after the project fizzled out, we maintained a really good relationship. He started asking me to come over to his house instead because he made his own little home studio, and we started tracking some death metal stuff. It's pretty similar to Lamb of God, or there were even songs that we had that sounded like Cannibal Corpse, if you've ever heard them, but overall I'd just call it death metal.
That's badass.
In the military, you have to call it casualty metal.
Yeah, you're right. I forgot that. Yeah.
Dad is in full form tonight.
Thank you.
Dad is here.
Tony, how's it feel to be able to just be a commentator when we talk now?
Oh, this is so fun.
This is not normal for you. Yeah.
I love it. Yeah.
You like it? All right, good.
This is great. Maybe we'll do this more often.
So eventually we did get a decent lineup. We had a bassist, 2 guitarists, a drummer, and me on vocals.
That's a band.
That does sound, just like a band.
That's
Like
a
what you need
lineup,
to have a
isn't it? We did get a small show lined up at a rural Oklahoma festival, but we fizzled out before the festival actually fizzled out around sometime in September of 2014. The festival ended up getting rained out it got rained out.
Bummer.
That's what happened. Yeah.
Bummer.
So about a month later, I got a message from a guy named Randy Runge, who was playing in a band called Devour the Innocent at the time. He was the front man, but their drummer had quit. So he asked me if I would fill in on vocals because he had seen our name on the lineup for the festival called Malice Festival. I can't remember where it was at, but yes, Malice Festival for sure. And
Yeah.
God damn it. I was super excited to be in this band because I had seen them a year before playing for, opening for Betraying the Martyrs, which I thought was awesome because they had already had ground game. They already had confidence with promoters.
Clout in the world.
Yeah, it's awesome. So I knew that if I at least filled in, I would get to do something. Like I knew I was going to get to do shows since they were asking me to fill in. Because obviously, if you're a band and you need to fill in, you need someone for a show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so,
I feel like the more quote unquote hardcore your name is, the more generic of a band you are. Like Devour the Innocent just makes for real generic music.
Oh, dude,
you know,
I'll post it when it comes to that time. It is
pretty good, huh?
It's music. It's I enjoyed at least one of the songs for sure. I think I didn't like the singing that was on the tracks more than anything, but it was fairly forgettable.
I'm not ragging on you guys or anything, but I just feel like if they're all right, we should name our band Fetus Testicles. It's just going to be a forgettable band.
The worst part about the band name is it didn't match the sound at all, which obviously we'll talk about.
Yeah, let's get into that.
The Devour the Innocent is a not very good band name for a band that really talks about not brutal stuff. I jumped in. I think the second show I did with them, that was the point where they were like, do you want to be a full-time member?
You want to do this thing for real, man?
That quick. I was like,
you want to make this Facebook official?
I was like, yeah, man, please.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
It was October 2014. I remember that for sure. And so after that, we had a lot of turnover. The bassist quit. He was pretty sketchy. The guitarist quit. He was the guy who was singing as well. So I took over all the singing that he had written, which wasn't very good. And we introduced a guy on the keyboards that was actually our roadie. He would help us set up drums and carry stuff into sets, which was awesome because he was...
Oh, hell yeah.
He ended up being fairly talented. I think he still is doing vocals for a band and definitely playing bass for another band. So he's definitely ended up taking what we gave him and going on. It's awesome.
Good for him.
Yeah,
good for him.
So
glad to hear the success story there.
We decided, due to the high turnover and just an overall lineup change, we needed to rebrand. So we changed our band name to Letters to a Friend. We recorded a EP called The Ravenous as Devour the Innocent, and before it released, we decided that we were going to rebrand after it released. At the time of the EP getting released, we had a pretty solid lineup. We had Brandon Burns on lead guitar and backing vocals, Blaine Olson playing rhythm guitar, Brian Olson on bass, who was actually Blaine's...
The Olsen brothers.
No, the Olsen uncle and nephew. It's pretty close.
Oh, of course.
Very
Much
close.
different story.
Blaine and Brian.
Brian was an ex-Marine, so he's pretty cool. Kind of intense sometimes, but he's cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes
and
sense.
then Jordan Johnson on keys, who was the roadie turned keyboardist, and Randy Runge on drums and backing vocals. We released that EP on November 12th of 2015. It was
God, I love it.
We didn't
Every
plan
chorus is a
for
fucking
this.
catchy as shit.
It's
so catchy.
It's catchy.
The hooks
but
are incredible.
We did not plan at all for this. I want to say we planned poorly, but we just didn't plan. I got
most poorly you can plan.
Yeah, it's just not planning. We're like, let's just put it out. Let's not do anything for it. I got put in a deployment for 4 months, so I left a day before it got released. I left on Veterans Day, literally the day before. I had gotten married to my wife on September 26th of 2015, and I had a kid on the way due in July of 2016.
I did not know that you had gotten deployed after you were married. I thought that you were basically on your way out. That's a surprise to me, and also I should have been in your wedding. So.
Ooh, oh God! Second one Tony got nixed from.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. I'm so sorry.
Same person.
Yeah, you're just one
Just
time.
my life.
Fucked you right in the A.
Did you like running sound? That's the real question.
Oh my God. So Austin said, yeah, you'd be a DJ later, right? When I talked about being the middle school DJ. So I was supposed to be in someone's wedding, and they said, yeah, you're gonna be in the wedding. We got it lined up for you. And then they said, oh, one of my bridesmaids backed out, so you can't be in the wedding anymore. Could you do sound instead? I still want you to be involved. And I said, oh, sure, man, that's fine. No problem. Like, I understand. Get to the wedding. And I talked to the bridesmaid that was supposed to be in the wedding, and the bridesmaid said, yeah, they kicked me out of the wedding, and I don't know why. So we found out she didn't back out. They kicked her out and then kicked me out by association so that I could run the music for them.
Austin.
Which is so upsetting.
Think about if they had kicked you out instead and you had to run the music.
Oh my God, it would have been a train wreck, but it would have been more fitting because the guy we were there for, I was friends with because he was Tony's best friend when we became friends.
Oh man!
And
it is a little weird to me.
Hey man, he chose me as the best man, and I don't know, man.
I think that was maybe Tony anyway.
Might have been Tony too.
So fast forward a year. Ethan says, we were talking about it, whatever, and this guy was supposed to go to Ethan's bachelor party, doesn't go, backs out on it Tony, the last minute.
You went to the bachelor party, right? Yeah, you were there.
Of course I went.
Yes.
I'm a good friend, yeah. Oh, I was there.
You're a good sound, man.
Ethan starts giving me shit about how he's like, oh man, I really wish that I could just kick this guy out of the wedding. Like my fiance really wants to kick him out, whatever. And then he starts laughing about it. And then he's like, man, how much does it suck that you had to run sound at that guy's wedding? And then he's like, so you want to run sound at my wedding? So I had to run sound at a second wedding. That's
you
a
did
damn
great.
joke.
You did a great job.
You did really?
Yeah, well, I had a lot of practice. So,
so is that what you do? You DJ now weddings?
Unofficially, not on purpose, not on purpose,
not on paper, not on paper. Hey, I gave you that sweet gold watch. You got the best consolation prize.
It was a consolation. It felt like a consolation prize. Yeah, and I also got forced up to the head table. I was sitting at my table, and you said my wife was at the head table because she was one of your wife's bridesmaids. Yes. And then you said, Tony, come and sit with us. So you are all sitting at the table, and then I was sitting at the side of the table, uncomfortably with no room for my plate.
Oh
but
my
man,
God,
Tony, you really treated me well.
I did let you sit at the table.
Yep, made a point of it.
I tried to
Maybe we should just continue before this goes on.
Anyway,
I am gonna need a DJ when Hillary and I finally get done. So
I know a
for
guy.
Christ's
I know a
sake.
guy that DJs weddings.
I know a guy too, and he's pretty good.
You have asked me to be your best man, but I'm fully intending to bring my headphone cable.
Yeah, no,
my quarter-inch
Just in
jack so I
case
can
you
plug it
got
into the PA system.
I just did that to get you there.
All right, Ethan, you're gonna have to step in as best man, and Tony, you're demoted to.
Oh
Yeah.
God.
Also, you lost your spot at the head table.
Oh no! All right. So before I left for the desert, I'd given the band a bit of an ultimatum because we were about to leave, and I thought we were all pretty dead set on writing a full-length album, and I told them that while I was on the deployment, I would like it if they would send me some demo tracks so I could write over. Like, I thought that would continue progress as a band, and I guess
Makes
the
sense,
EP
yeah.
would do nothing, and I accepted that, and we would just put out a full-length. And I never got any demo tracks, not even one scratch track. So I quit.
Shit. It'll happen too. That'll
so-
happen time and time again.
So damn upsetting because your guys' EP was like legitimately really, really good. Like
Very
as
catchy.
Austin said, so catchy, yeah. And so like not getting to see a full length of that is pretty sad. But you not being in the band did help you get back to Iowa, which means that we get to see you more. So it's a give and take, I suppose.
Yep. I'm
Bittersweet,
happy.
as they say.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
I was happy that I did the band. I got to play a ton of shows. We were playing, I think we played like 50 shows in the 1 year I was with the band. Like I know there were weeks
good
where we
chunk of
took
So fun.
like 3 shows a week for sure. Like we would take anything. I was really good friends with a lot of the promoters. 2 of them lived with me. One of them for a week and another for like a month. Like I was doing what I could to get shows. Yeah. It was definitely worth it. I got a ton of experience and a ton of exposure, which is it's important, right?
It's very important. Yeah.
exposure.
I did one more show with them after I quit. But in April of 2016, that was the end. I did a show where we were opening for I Set to Kill and Open Your Eyes, who actually had
fucking awesome.
It was so cool. It was packed. I did jam a little bit after that with the guitarist Blaine Olson and Randy Runge and Brian Olson were all in this little project band, which eventually turned into All Seems Lost, which are still very active in the Oklahoma City area. It's good metalcore. Check them out if you like metalcore music. Jeff and Steve Hostetler are really good guys. And I mean, Jeff owns, I don't know if he owns it, but I know he works in a pot shop a lot, which is pretty cool.
That is pretty cool, actually, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And since then, I haven't done a whole lot since October of 2016. That's when I moved back to Iowa.
That's right when I got married.
That's right.
I moved back for my wedding. Thanks, man.
My wife was in your wedding.
That's true. You weren't.
Yeah.
You know what? And that's
Suck
okay.
on that one.
That's okay. I had to take care of Theodore at the time. It's totally acceptable.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
God, I've got a perfect track record for weddings so far
That's
here.
what I told myself at night, every night. Since then, I've worked at an ethanol plant, worked as a clerk at the post office, and now I'm back to school to work on aircraft again to get my airframe and power plant license because I want to work on planes. I like them.
Shit, yeah.
And I am just
Hell yeah.
happy I'm here with you guys. I'm recording, and this is our 1 year. We made it whole
God.
year.
Woo!
So
Cheers.
Fucking, yep.
Cheers.
Clink, boys. Yeah, Ethan and I grew up so close, and it took so long for us to become friends. It
Literally
was
a
like
block.
it was
Literally
like
a
end
block.
of me being a senior in high school. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Real
Austin,
close.
you know where your house is?
Yeah.
You know, to the west where that little wooded area is?
Yeah.
I played in there so much. Like,
Oh,
a lot. I made a fort.
I played in the wooded area straight across from my house
Like,
all
towards
the time.
Knutson's?
Yeah.
Yeah. I used to
Like-
sled on their hill.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. See, we were just in each other's yards pretty much, and we
just
still
not friends.
I shouldn't say not because we were always like friends with other friends,
I
but
knew
it was
you
a
were,
very specific event that made us
Yes.
become close friends,
Yeah.
which I will
Friends
talk
by
about.
proximity.
Yeah, because I'm the only one left, I guess. That's me, Austin Thomas.
Or AJTommy at MSN.com, as the ladies used to call him.
Yeah,
He was hot on that MSN messengers, man. He was
a lot of ladies
always
did call me
available.
that. Yep, they're always talking to me a lot. Yeah,
They better
talked
have
to
a video
lot.
camera, dude.
Talked to a lot of girls for a long time. As a
I
kid.
think his MSN status was double D or bust.
Full sweater club only.
I can
Yeah.
honestly respect that.
Yeah, that's an embarrassing email that I made and kept till I think I was probably went to you and I actually. So
You
know,
probably could still email it if you want to.
I
though.
think it's still active because my Xbox Live goes through it. So
Hey, Tony. Hey, Cheese.
Yeah,
Hey,
man.
Austin.
yeah, what's up?
I still have Ethan Bonine at MSN.com. Just no one else had my name, so it was mine.
Yeah, but it's not like an initial and then Tommy, which is not.
Tommy.
Like,
It's
I
like
don't know.
you nicknamed your last name, which is very bold. I respect
Yeah,
that.
I don't know,
Yeah.
man. I have,
It's-
I don't have it. I don't have explanations for a lot of things I've done.
Yes,
So.
it is the name a fourth grader would make.
So I was born in an extremely small town in Iowa called Bradford, and I think it was like 200 people. There was a grain elevator and a mechanic shop.
I
and
think it's
that-
less than that now.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah,
no,
I know my
wouldn't be
mom
surprised.
grew up there. She was definitely in there somewhere, and yeah.
I would try to
It's
ride my
gotta
bike
be.
all the way around town, and then I would try to do it as many times as I could in an hour. It was a lot.
Until
So
the voices stop yelling in your head.
yeah, exactly. Until I can just focus on something else after I've done that the certain amount of times I need to.
Yes.
But we moved to Alden for a really short time, which is where Tony's parents own that bar. Still never really bumped into Tony till high school either.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and that was like the same time your parents were doing that.
Yeah,
Probably when I lived there.
but I was always, hanging out in the back, freaking like doing like slave labor,
Yeah,
sweeping the
yeah.
floor
I mean,
and
Yeah,
stuff.
that was easily illegal.
Surprisingly enough, I wasn't allowed at the bar. So yeah, I guess,
I didn't mention, but my baptism reception was at the bar, so
That's
that's how
awesome.
trashy I
where
was.
else would it be?
That's true,
I
man.
don't-
That's true.
Yeah.
Hey, man, my family did the bowling alley. Yours did the bar.
Yeah.
They both had bars.
Yeah, they're both equally Iowa Falls. So we settled into Iowa Falls when I was in middle school. Music was always pretty important to me. My stepdad and my dad both were really into classic rock, so I listened to a lot of Sabbath, Aerosmith, AC/DC, Guns N' Roses. That was why I wanted to start with something along those lines for our first episode. But around middle school, I started branching off into, the quintessential 90s, early 2000s bands like Linkin Park, Slipknot, Korn. All that
metal.
all that kind of
The
stuff.
stuff everyone started with.
Yeah. And then I took another weird turn back into classic rock, and then I got into pop punk too much in high school. I had a weird ride. I don't know.
You're fun. You're
yeah,
fun.
Yeah, that's what I was. So I started my first band when I was a senior in high school, and it was regrettably called Ready Thineself.
That
Really,
was awesome.
really cringy.
Thine self. Ready
yeah,
thine self.
Thineself.
Yeah.
Well,
Not
we
thyself.
thought
'Cause
maybe at what-
thyself is like grammatically correct.
No, I don't think that's true. I don't know, man. We thought maybe we'd be a Christian band at one point. We didn't really know what we were doing, so we kept it open. We all
course.
have a history, and we have to move on from it.
Any band can just kind of transition to Christian band at any time they want to. It's
That's
kind of
what
crazy.
we were thinking, yeah.
That's just the power of
You
Jesus
never
Christ.
know when you need that sweet, sweet Jesus money.
Yeah. Oh, God.
And the only reason that Austin is sharing this fun fact about Ready Thine Self is because Austin and I threatened to publicly out him one way or another if he did it.
Ethan and
He's
you
the-
did. Yeah. Him
Ethan
and
No,
you.
yeah.
Yeah. No, I knew that I'd be drugged right through the mud,
Yeah,
and then my
we-
head would be held
we-
under.
I would
We were real
I would
ready.
just break the page and put a whole sheet of blue. I would make it happen.
I
We
believe
were going
it.
to do it one way or another.
Yep.
Listen, bad bands are still part of your history.
Yep,
You got to
yep.
embrace them.
Still a stepping stone. I wouldn't
Yeah,
have done
that's
anything
right.
otherwise. I get it.
That metal TikTok cover would not have done itself.
Wow. It's still on MySpace. It's still there.
I'm glad that doesn't actually exist, and that's just a joke. Pretty regrettable. I still really love those guys, though. I'm still friends with them. James,
All good guys.
James, Josh, and Zach. I love you guys.
Nope,
And,
they're awesome.
But God, I fucking regret that band. Funny story. Funny little story here, what we're about to get into. I actually learned how to scream or yell, whatever you want to call it. It all sounds dumb no matter what you say.
Yep, no matter
But-
how you spin it, you sound
Yeah.
like an idiot.
Yeah, exactly. I learned to do that from Ethan completely by accident, and it's how we became close friends. And
Look at that.
yeah,
You know
it's
what?
pretty.
I
What?
remember the first thing that I said to you. I just asked you if you inhaled or exhaled.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's what happened.
Austin,
What?
did you inhale?
No,
He exhaled.
I can't do that. Yeah.
Pussies inhale.
Yeah.
I was doing
painful.
like a Bill Clinton. I did not inhale.
He didn't inhale the marijuana.
Yeah.
He only
yeah.
puffed on
Thank
it.
you. Thank
Yes.
you.
Chump,
All right, go on.
chump.
Sorry.
Fat chunk. So this happened to be at the exact time that Ethan was trying to learn for himself in his dad's attic, like he said. And I had a couple of friends that wanted to start a band. Nothing ever came of it, but I jokingly said that I would sing in it. And I had no idea what I was doing, never even tried at the time. And then they were like, well, we actually want you to, if you will. So I said I'd give it a try, and I sang in my car a lot. And one day, which I believe this was on spring break, I was in my car singing along to something, and then I got to Casey's, went in to get a drink, and I get a call from Ethan frantically screaming, "Were you inhaling or exhaling?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he was like,
and Austin said, "I did not inhale."
I did not inhale. It's true.
I'm glad we circled back to it
I'll read
already.
this joke till the fucking cows come home.
Oh man.
So I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And he was like, you just called me and left me a voicemail of you screaming in your car. What are you doing right now? And I was like, oh, nothing. He was like, come to my dad's right now. So I went straight to his dad's and spent the next like 4 straight days of break there. And we made a lot of really bad videos that I think we've buried at this point.
They're gone. They're definite. There's only pictures left. That's all you'll get.
Oh, God,
And we will give them to you.
Yes,
we
we
will give
will.
you anything
No,
we
I
You
can.
don't
commit
have
the
to try
pictures,
super
and they
hard.
aren't good, but you'll get them.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, gone are the days, man. Gone are the days of just being able to call someone, tell them to come over, and then seeing them 5 minutes later.
Okay, I absolutely will come over right now.
Simple, beautiful time.
Yep.
Such a good time.
Oh, but now I don't take phone calls, so.
Yeah, phone calls are the worst, man.
That's true.
Just text me, tell me what you're thinking, and then if you still want a phone call, then think about it.
If it's serious enough.
Austin's got a very short list of people he will answer the phone to, and I'm on that list, and I exploit it more often than I should.
I would like to think that
It's
I'm
very
on that
fun.
list because I don't do it very often. I think I
Yeah,
remember.
no, I think if you called, I'd pick up.
Yeah, I think I remember the last call because I think I was with Zach at Northwestern.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I came. And
Yes,
then I
you did.
Then I did drive an hour and 45 minutes to be there.
Yeah.
Yes, you did. And I respect that.
So after Ready Thineself, I joined a band that we had played with quite a number of times called Such Creatures Exist. They were based in Cedar Falls, which is where Tony and I moved to go to UNI. So it worked
Cats.
out kind of perfectly. Their singer had quit, and they had a pretty decent following. So I was able to just try out, got it, and was able to play a lot of shows. It was pretty fun.
It was awesome. Yeah. I remember the show. I went to the show where they invited you on stage and said, this is our new vocalist. And the old vocalist was there, and you guys did a song together. And then the
My
old
buddy Ben,
vocalist
still love you.
I got to
shook
see
your
him.
hand, and then he walked off stage, and you were the vocalist. It was awesome.
I got to see you play with Onward to Olympus, and it was a very good show.
Yeah, I believe that was with Kingdom of Giants and Volumes
Kingdom
as
of
well,
Giants
yeah.
too. Yeah, it was awesome.
So that was cool. And during a show that I played with them, one of my friends, Jordan, came and watched, and he was actually in a band called Stand United. They're a straight edge band, and I really liked that band at the time. They were one of the few like bands in Iowa that was really like they were touring Canada and the States and all that, and put out
They
a
were
full
doing it.
length. Yeah. And so he pulled me aside and he was like, hey, I'm starting a side project with my guitarist that I think you should try to sing for. And so we did a couple rough demos, and it was going to just be a side thing for him, but it started rolling super quick, and we found a really good drummer in Des Moines, and then sadly also a DJ, because that's what we were doing at the time.
Really went for it. Really going
Yeah.
for one specific band sound.
Just one.
Austin lived in Cedar Falls at the time, and Jordan lived in Des Moines, and so he was driving the 2 hours like every single week to go practice with them. Like he was
Committed.
really committed to the band, which
Yeah.
is awesome. And
Every
Austin,
Sunday we went.
and a big thing that helped with that was that Austin was like a really big fan of Jordan. Jordan Greiner was his name. He was, like Austin said, in Stand United, and like Austin kind of fanboyed when he found out that Jordan was in Stand United, and he was also going to UNI. And
I just liked the band. I didn't want to be weird.
and that made you a little
It
weird
ended up
about it.
making me be weird. Yep.
Yeah,
Weirdo.
Jordan lived in our dorm our freshman year, and so it took a pretty long time for Austin to even work up the courage to talk to him. And I'm saying this not as like as an insult. I think it's really cute and really fun, and I think it's awesome. And Jordan, if you're listening, thanks for listening.
Yeah. So, I tried so hard to not be weird, and that's just,
You are
I
weird.
just- I
I think
am.
we all are.
And I
Maybe
try to
Tony's
escape
not.
it,
I
and
don't
that's
know.
when it
Who
gets
We're
knows?
weird
bad.
in our own way.
Yes, we
yeah.
are.
So we were going by the name Parasite, and at the time, and it was just super corn coal chamber worship, which whatever you want to say about that, I still love it, and you can find that at soundcloud.com/parasiteia.
which we will link.
Yeah,
Yes.
I still like it, but this eventually formed into the band Ghost Hive, which was my main focus in life for like a good 4 years.
Yeah, quite a long time. And you guys had to change your name because you were told Parasite was too common, right? Like the name was probably already taken or too hard to actually
and not
find.
2 syllables was a big thing I heard.
Yeah, we had someone working with us that was interested in producing us at the time, but he was in a band that it just didn't work out. It all kind of fizzled. But he told us, he was like, this name's way too common. You need something that's going to be that people can search and have no conflicting
Google pop-ups.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Google
Something
results.
If you were to
you can
Google
easily
Parasite,
access.
it would be way hard to find
Yes.
the band Parasite.
Yeah.
It's such a common word.
And so his advice was pick something that is either 1 word, 2 syllables, or 2 words, 1 syllable each, because that's the easiest thing that gets stuck in people's head. It's easy to chant. It's something you won't forget. So we made a huge list of nouns and just spent like a few days piecing random words together.
And this guy who told you to do this is very well versed in knowing that because the band he's in is 1 word with 2 syllables.
I'm not going to say it because we got
don't need
told
to
not
say
to
it.
at the time, and
That's
it's not
right.
a thing anymore.
That's
so
right.
I probably
We're leaving
could,
it
but
there.
I don't.
We're leaving it there.
I'm a
We're
little too
leaving it there.
superstitious. Yeah.
Yep.
And so anyway, what was I saying? Where was I? Oh, yeah. So basically, we tried to take our love of Slipknot, Korn, Zombie, Pantera, and Hatebreed and just kind of mash that all together. I don't know if we accomplished it or not, but we did put out an EP that you can find pretty much anywhere you stream anything, Spotify, Apple Music, Google Play. It's called Alone Again. It's 5 songs. And then we put out a music video for one of those songs. We put out a second music video, but that was just like a media video. But we put out one actual video that was, the band playing and then kind of a storyline. You can find that on YouTube. Just look up Ghost Hive. We got a few things there.
It's very professional. Very, very professional.
Very good.
It's a lot of fun to do. It was a pretty wild process.
It was awesome. I invited you to your first recording session, but you didn't invite me to my first ever music video session.
Well,
So
I'm so sorry.
just something to think about when you go to bed tonight.
We did half of it in an abandoned house we weren't supposed to be at. So, I mean, so we didn't want to have too many people tagging along.
We didn't want 2 people tagging along.
Yeah, that's my whole excuse right now. I'm not
That's what I
backed
would
into a
say too.
corner or
I
anything.
So
would make
thin.
plenty of excuses to why you didn't make someone in something. Yes.
Oh,
works.
God.
Yeah, I guess.
Yep. So we put out all that stuff. We played a shitload of shows over, I believe, 4 years. And we recorded a second 4-song EP, but that sadly only exists on our hard drives. It never got released.
Okay, 1, your EP shreds. It's super good, and
Thanks,
it's
man.
part of my running playlist, and it's always pretty motivating to hear my boy come on. It's always fun to just be like, that's Austin.
Right
That's
there
Austin.
in your ear.
That's Austin right in my brain right there.
So
and
good.
2, is there a chance we could ever get that second EP to come out? Because Ethan and I have heard it, and it is very, very good as well.
Yeah.
It's very heavy. It's awesome.
We've tried. We thought about just putting it out for free, but we are locked out of our CD Baby account, so got to figure that out. And we're also
Shit.
still not 100% sold that we want to just put it out. I don't know.
I heard CD Baby's password encryption is like Fort Knox, so it makes sense that
you'll
you
never
can't
get
get in there.
Yeah, we don't know what it is at all. So yeah. Sadly, things kind of fizzled with that because half of us thought we needed to be touring and like pushing that really hard on top of releasing new material, and then kind of half of the band thought that we could just keep playing in our kind of area and keep releasing videos and EPs and stuff and just build that way. And basically that led to it just all falling apart. So and we tried to get it going a second time with a couple different people, but that only lasted like a year and then fizzled.
Well, I think a big thing, if I may jump in here, is that you and Jordan Greiner were the two you guys were the engines pushing this whole thing forward.
He wrote all the music and I wrote all the vocals.
Yeah,
other than like drums, he just wrote all the guitar stuff.
Jordan moved to Japan, and so having someone that lives literally across the world from you makes things pretty difficult. And I think he wanted to do practice guitar parts and send you guitar parts and stuff, send you parts over the internet. But obviously that makes things very difficult.
Yep.
And also, Jordan, if you're listening, thanks for listening.
Yeah, he's a great musician. Thank you, Jordan.
Super talented.
One of the most talented people I've ever met. He's a insane person on the guitar.
He's got them Robert Johnson fingers.
Yeah,
always
he seriously
so nice
does.
to me
Watching
too.
those things, those things move.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm still doing stuff here and there. I started a project with my fiance's brother-in-law Griffin called Far Gone, and it's just like fast, aggressive, kind of metalcore, more so than hardcore. I don't know. It's in a weird. I don't even know what to call it. Just go listen to it. We have a 7-song EP on anywhere you can stream music called Dead Minds. We started that I think almost 2 years ago now. And we've talked about doing stuff with it eventually. I don't know if we will. He's in a band called the Acacia Strain, so that is his career that takes all of his time up. So who knows?
Did you guys ever play that, or did you just record it and put it out?
No, that was the idea. Was to be a band that we could play shows when he was back. But then they wrote 2 albums in a year, so he got a little too busy.
Two incredibly successful albums.
Yeah,
So
The Acacia Strain is doing great.
so it doesn't matter.
Go listen to those.
That EP shreds. So
Thanks, man.
I'm not like a huge metal fan, but anything Austin does I really like. But I may be biased in that, but I always listen to his stuff.
Hey, thanks a lot, man. Yeah, that is called Far Gone, and the EP is called Dead Minds.
Mm-hmm.
I am also doing a band called The Edicule, and I started that with the drummer of Ghost Hive, Tyler. He's just been writing a shitload of stuff, and so me, him, and our friends Brandon, Matt, and Dan, we've all had that going. We put out a music video. We've played a bunch of shows already, and I'm supposed to be possibly starting another project with Brandon and Matt and our friend Jackson, but just with the world how it is, who knows what's going to happen.
Oh man, yeah, and that hearing that really kind of hits me harder than any of ours. No offense to Ethan or anything, but we're married and have kids, and our musical lives are kind of behind us. But Austin is incredibly talented, and he also really wants to be a musician.
That's all I was trying to do for a while. I also don't know if I'd agree with incredibly talented. I only do the one thing, and most people would contest that is not talent.
Hey man,
I only do one thing as well, and I am very average at it, and you are very good at yours. So I would say talented. Yeah, every job that he does now, it's basically just him buying time until he can do more music. So yeah, it's always every time he's I'm starting up a project with these people, or I'm doing this, or check this out. He's always the most enthusiastic about his music, and it always makes me the most happy when he talks about his music. 'Cause that's his passion. And this podcast, of course. But it really sucks to hear that there's no timeline on these next projects, because I really
honestly, this thing is taking up. This is happily taking up my time. I had no idea this would evolve into
I didn't realize it was going to keep going. It's a lot of work. I'm just kidding. It's a joke.
Do one episode and call it quits.
Thought this was going to fizzle when we were all drunk on the floor at 3 a.m.
Who knew?
No, that's when it got stronger. Yeah.
And say that just really built the bonds. That's what it did.
Oh man,
No.
1 year. One year we did
so
it.
freaking glad we got here.
Freaking year.
We're doing it. Austin, who have you opened up for? I think that's something that can't be understated.
I guess we've opened for Amir a couple times, Motionless in White a couple times. We played with Attila. We played with American Head Charge.
Okay.
We played with Suicide Silence.
Yeah.
Life, Suffocate.
You said Volumes earlier, which is with a different band, but
Volumes.
still, Volumes is still big.
Huge.
Yeah. Acacia Strain, Fit for a King.
And the last show that you were supposed to play on
August
April
Burns
2nd.
Red.
Yeah, you're going to open up for August Burns Red. It got canceled.
Yeah,
Sucks.
that
I was going to
got
go to that
kibosh.
show.
Then I
That's
was
so
going to
sad.
give you the mic the whole time. I was going to get in the audience,
Man.
actually.
I'm sad.
I'm ready for the world to open back
I need
up.
the
man.
world to be
this.
open.
I need
Yeah.
this.
That
I
would
need
be
a
real
show,
great.
man. I need a
Yeah.
show.
Seriously.
I'm
Where's
ready
my
for
freaking
it.
gourd here.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah.
It has
but-
been nice being able to record every week, though.
Yes.
Oh, this has been so much fun. Yeah. I'm
Honestly, if
very
this could
much
be the way it
enjoyed this.
was, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
But
Speaking of, we got a few things on the docket.
yeah, we do.
Yeah. So at the beginning of the episode, I kind of teased. Before I get to that, I just want to say, so those are our stories. That's where we kind of came from. That's our musical history. We're three stories of people who didn't make it. And if you've listened to our past episodes, or if you know about past episodes, about musicians, our stories aren't a ton different than a lot of the bands that did make it. Like a lot of these bands that did get world famous, huge. So that's kind of where my interest, where it's what did they do differently? And they're more talented than us. I'm not gonna, or more talented than myself.
That's not what we're trying to say here. Yeah.
But what did they do? How did they get things exactly right to be able to walk up those steps that most people, including us three so far, have slipped down and so that's why we wanted to start the podcast. That's why we love to do it. So I'm glad that you guys
Obviously-
sat through, listened to our story, because
Thank you.
Obviously, talent is first and foremost, but there's a big amount of chance that falls into all these stories that we've
much
covered.
luck.
yeah. What's the old saying there? Determination and luck makes for opportunity. Isn't that what it is?
Opportunity is the crossroads between luck and something like that. Yeah, whatever.
You know what we're saying.
Something.
Yeah, so just us three so far, us three haven't had that opportunity. And the determination is there for some of us and not for others. That's why some of us play for our bedroom walls and some of us play for big crowds. But that's
I would
fine.
love to get a bar cover band going though. To be
God, it
honest.
would be
Count me
pretty
in.
sweet
Yeah.
if we just made a sweet set list to play.
Yeah, we could
That's
make
what I'm looking
money
for.
playing at a
Yeah,
bar.
we could actually make money instead of just dishing out tons of cash
Instead
to
of paying
bands.
money to play.
That'd be
Yeah.
cool.
Very much look forward to that. So that's kind of why we want to do this episode. The other reason we want to do this episode, as I teased at the beginning, we've got some personal stuff going on. It's mainly my personal stuff, and Ethan and Austin have just been nice enough to not say no, we should keep doing these hard research episodes. They've been nice enough to say, oh no, you've got a lot going on. So I am buying a house later this week, and so I'm going to be fixing that up and moving into that. And then in a couple weeks, I have a baby due. My wife and I are pregnant. By the time that you hear this episode, we'll actually have a baby. We're kind of front loading our episodes so that we can take a little break so that I can be a dad for a little bit. So for the next couple of weeks, we're going to kind of do these more casual episodes. The next two are going to be a little bit more in line with what we've done in the past, but they're going to be a different brand of what we've done. So for next week,
kind of fun.
Very
next
fun.
week, we are going to do a one-off on one-hit wonders. So we're going to look at 10 songs or 10 bands that kind of, they had their one big hit and then they kind of fizzled out, that are never going to have their own episode. But we're going to look at kind of how they formed, how they got their one hit on the radio, and then kind of how they died out or whatever, what the one song is about. We'll just take, an hour and a half to just kind of talk about that. And then after we do that episode, we are going to do an
Our
episode.
most morbid episode.
Oh man, just a lot of dead people.
Definitely the most morbid. We're going to do the 27 Club. So we're going to look at a couple, probably again 10 or so musicians that have all kicked the bucket either by their own accord or by the world's accord at the magical, infamous age of 27. And we're going to do probably bands that either we have covered. We may talk about Robert Johnson again. He's kind of the founder of the 27 Club.
Yep.
Or we're going to
member.
do OG baby. Or we're going to do other big ones, Kurt Cobain or Jimi Hendrix. We're going to look at stuff, artists like that, just
Amy.
because we're
Gotta do Amy.
because we're
I'm just gonna
covering
pick
them.
someone fun.
just because we're doing them on this episode doesn't mean that we're not going to cover them in depth later. We're just going to look primarily at their death, what they were, how they died.
It is bleak, but it's such a phenomenon. We got to cover it.
Yeah, I mean, it happens so frequently that it needs to be said.
It's going to be a good one, so we're excited for it. In the meantime, if you want to find us on social media anywhere, you can do that. We're on in 5, WERE on in 5 on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Ethan is running those now, and he is doing a literal phenomenal
He's
job.
Absolutely crushing it.
Yeah, like multiple posts a day and
taking the world by storm, bro.
Oh,
it's
man,
always
he's killing it.
Such fun tidbits.
I know. I really am trying to be fun.
If you want to go learn more about the bands we're doing, like in depth and have more visual stuff, go follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. We also have a website. We're on in5.com. I update that. I update it a little less than Ethan, very much less than Ethan, but I kind of update it with things that we talk about in episodes, any little bonus detail stuff like that, videos and stuff I put on there, as well as the books that we read. I put on there and link them to Amazon, so you can go buy the books if you're interested in any of the stuff we talk about. You can go check it out on there. If you want to find me on any social media, I am Anton is on in 5, ANTON is on in 5 on Twitter and Instagram. If you want to find Ethan anywhere, where can they do that, my guy?
On Twitter, you can find me as Ethan Bonine. On Instagram, you can find me as Bones for Bonine. And I always say it, and I'll never stop. Please email us, because I check that like at least daily, probably multiple times a day.
We've got it linked up to our phone.
Times a day, I bet.
Yeah, I do.
Linked up to our phones, and we are always searching for it. So send us something.
Please talk to us. I just want someone to reach out.
Tell me I'm pretty.
Oh, God, yeah.
Austin, what about you, man? I think you have social medias, right?
Oh, I got some medias. Yeah, I've got a few of them. I am on Twitter as THOMAAAF. I'm on Instagram as Austin_Thomas09. I'm not very active on social media, though. I'm pretty bad at using it. So I would say, and as I've said before, just follow the podcast's Instagram, because Ethan is just really showing that thing what's boss.
Oh, he's killing it, man.
It's good.
We paid for stuff. We paid for an account on our social media manager just so that we could post stuff more often and kind of plan things out and be pretty strategic with it. So we're growing up in the social media world. So if you don't believe us, go check it out. The other thing we have, if you want to, now that we're a year in, we can really milk this, is we have a Patreon.
That makes it okay to start asking for money.
Now give us that money. So
Subtle.
yes, so if you go to patreon.com/onin5, we're on there. We update it. We try to do it once a month. We don't force ourselves to figure out stuff to put on there, but we kind of try to do something once a month or something with every series, just so that it's a little bonus thing. The other thing that you can get is you can get all episodes a day early. So all of our episodes come out Monday morning. You can actually get them on Sunday on there. So if you want to listen a day early, you can do that. It only costs $1 to join. You can join. You can do as much as you want. Most people who do it do $5, or everyone who does it has done $5 so far. But you can do whatever you want.
Everyone just give us $5. I love those two people. They're great.
But yeah, if you want to give to us, if you think we deserve it, that's perfect. If you don't think we deserve it, that's also totally fine. We're never gonna put anything behind a paywall. Everything's gonna be free for you guys forever. If at the very least, if you could like and review us on iTunes or Apple Podcasts or anywhere you listen to podcasts, just quickly click those stars. We would love to get that.
Please give us some ratings.
That helps us get seen more and gets our name out there a little bit more. So we would love it if you did that. But we're not gonna hunt you down if you don't. That's for damn sure.
Yeah,
so
we would never do that. We'd never show up at anyone's house and ask why.
So that's it. That's it for this episode. Thank you for indulging us as we talked about our own histories. I hope that it was interesting. I hope that you didn't get too bored. And if you made it this far, we're going to indulge you with one of our songs from our own past. What do you guys want to sing?
They pulled the wool over our eyes. 5 seconds of